just one away from the top 5, and at number 6 we have BioShock, just the first BioShock. And in my books, this is a classic among Xbox 360 games. I mean, it's a classic pretty much in gaming in general. I mean, I think everyone's heard of BioShock. I think if you go up to someone and ask them, have you heard of BioShock? And they're a gamer and they say no, I give you permission to slap that person in the face and tell them, you are missing out, you silly bastard. If you're pretty much quite an English guy, you know, say bastard like that, don't say bastard. Go bastard. Because, I don't know, just be polite to him when you say bastard instead of bastard. I digress. But BioShock really had that, you know, deep down, punchy, gritty, dark feel. And that's where the story pretty much came into it. It was a really sort of dark story, and had twists and turns flying out of its arse. And you just, you know, you had to keep up, and it was really thrilling to keep up with the story. Pretty much, you are a guy whose plane crashed, and you have to go into this place and down under the ocean to this underwater city called Rapture, owned by a guy called Andrew Ryan. And then from then on, it becomes a giant sort of horror fest, pretty much. And with that, I didn't expect it to be a horror game. I really didn't. But, you know, there'd be points where the scares would just come out of nowhere. That's pretty much why it was scary, because you didn't expect these things to happen when they did. And there was a very iconic moment for me when something happened and you had to turn around and someone was there. And I shat my pants, pretty much. But moving on from that, gameplay-wise, they had a really interesting thing set up. You had these things called plasmids, which were pretty much special powers, I'd say, that you could use that would be emitted from your hand. So you'd have like this dual combo of... Actually, no, you didn't. No, I'm thinking of the other ones. But you had to choose between if you wanted to use guns with your right hand, or if you wanted to use these powers. I think it was only in later BioShocks that they added the feature that you could use both at the same time, so... And it was really interesting at the time, I think. I don't think really any sort of gaming thing had done something like this before. First-person shooter did this sort of power thing and gun sort of mash-up. And they really tried to balance it, and to be honest, I really didn't use the powers that much. I mean, I'd upgrade them and stuff, but I didn't really use them that much as probably I should have. But I sort of stuck with the guns and upgraded my guns mostly, and, you know, looked for stuff to help my guns more so than these plasmids. But it was a really great idea. It was a really good idea, and it, you know, it helped in certain situations. You know, if there was a couple of guys in some water, you could sneak up and use the electricity power to shock them. And if there was some people near oil, you could use the fire to light them up. And so it was really good that they didn't just make them sort of these bland powers that you just, you know, point, aim, shoot, burn. It was, you know, how can I use these, you know, tactically to my advantage? And so, you know, even though I didn't use them that much, they were still a pretty good inclusion in the game. And then comes the story. Story was awesome. It was awesome. I think I've mentioned before, it was all twisty and turny and that, and dark, but it was another awesome one where, you know, you have multiple endings, and that was another mechanic in it which connects with the multiple endings, and that's the little sisters, because you need Adam to use these power-ups. And so you have a choice of if you want to harvest these little sisters, which pretty much kills them, but you get more Adam, or you can save them, which rids them of this sort of evil that's over them, but you get less Adam. And that really probably played on lots of people's decisions. I know what my sole decision was. I chose to save them, pretty much all of them, and those decisions pretty much change the ending. They have an impact on the story. But it was really sort of, it was quite a blockbuster story, I'd say, for the time. It was like one of those stories that just, really spoke to you. You really got involved with it. It was like pretty much reading a book in the most intense way possible, like just staring at the pages with this just tense face, like, this is so good. And it was basically one of those things where you didn't want to put down the controller. You just want to keep playing, and get to the next part, see what's next, progress with the story. And I did that pretty much. I kind of like zoomed through it, and I've recently gone back to play it again just to, because it's so good. And yeah, I'll say that they had really good designs of characters. The splices were really good and pretty gruesome, and I like the variety of them. So you had these Houdini splices that would, do magic tricks, pretty much disappear and reappear behind you and throw all these sort of things, and then you had sort of like bomber splicers that throw explosives at you. You'd have the normal splicers, you'd have sort of thuggish splicers or something, I think they were called, which were sort of melee orientated splicers, and then you had ones that used guns, there was all sorts of different ones, and along with them there was limited amount of characters. There weren't that many characters. You weren't having, characters popping in from every direction. But that worked really well. So you had sort of these psycho characters, sort of in a similar way to Dead Rising does psycho characters, who you'd have to, kill. And they were really good, really well voiced, and especially Andrew Ryan and Atlas. They were both two great characters. And I just really enjoyed BioShock. It's a classic among games, and it deserves this number 6 spot on this list.